Hello everyone, so I'm back for episode 2, so let's go check on the plants. Here are my plants. So as you can see, all 3 are now under the LED grow light. The middle plant poked up through the seedling mix on the night of April 7th. The plant on the right poked up through the seedling mix this morning, April 8th. And then the plant on the left I just took out of the germination chamber. So I'm just going to show you how to take the little seed coat off of the seedling right when you take it out of the germination chamber. So show you how to do that. So basically, it should slip right off. If it doesn't slip off, then it's not ready. So don't try to pull it off prematurely. But this should just kind of wiggle free here. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so that's off. So now I want to put it back under the grow light here. And so these leaves here are actually the seed leaves or the cotyledons, not the true leaves. So these leaves will then fold open like this one. So when I transferred each plant from the germination chamber under the light, I did give it a decent drink of water, since all the water that they originally had was just that 1/3 cup that I had mixed in the seedling mix to germinate them. So you want to give it a decent amount of water and make sure that your pots that you're putting your seedlings in have drainage holes, and you want to make sure all the water drains out of it. But after you give it this, a little bit of water, you don't want to water it every day. You don't want to water it every other day. Just make sure, because they're not really using all that much water. So water when they need it, but you don't want to overwater. I think that's one of the biggest problems for newer growers, is that they overwater their seedlings, and you don't want to do that. So I water when the soil gets dry, or maybe, well, not really want to dry. You want to keep it the constant moisture, but you certainly do not want to overwater it, because that'll then cause rot and other stress issues, which will then, cause the plant to grow less than its full capacity. So since the seedlings are so young, you really don't want to have the grow light all that close to them, because you'll either burn them or you'll cause, excess stress that will make them grow slower than their full capability, and we don't want that. So I guess a good way to measure how close you should have your grow light is based off a value called ppfd. Now ppfd is an acronym for photosynthetic photon flux density, and there's this really cool app out there called Phototone, where you can download it on the App Store. I think it's $4 or something. It's not that bad. Certainly worth it. And you basically place your camera at the height of the ceiling under your grow light, and it'll tell you the ppfd, which is basically the light intensity at that height. And so what I like to strive for is around, at this stage, probably around 200, a little over 200 ppfd. So when they get a little older, maybe around 300, 400, and then when they're full plants about to get transplanted outside, you may go as high as 600, but I wouldn't go any higher than that. So that's a good way to know how high to put your grow light. So go check that app out. It's pretty awesome. So there's really not all that much else to do during this stage, not until they get a little bit older, but just make sure that the LED light or whatever light that you use is on an electric timer, so that it's on for 16 hours a day. I know some people do 18 hours a day. I feel like that's pushing them a little too strong, so I recommend 16 hours a day. I know people do less too, so I guess that works too. I recommend 16 hours a day. I turn it on 6 a.m. and then have it turn off at 10 p.m. And for me, that works pretty good. It's been a few days, and I think I'm going to water the seedlings with some beneficial microbes root, and then some seaweed. So it's going to be a little over 1/64 teaspoon of that in 1 cup of warm water, and then I think 1/16 teaspoon of root, which is 1 teaspoon per gallon. Okay, so that goes in there. Okay, so let's give that to the plants. So we're gonna give about a third cup of this solution to this plant here. I think that's about right. Okay. And do the same for the other plants. Leave enough for the other plants. You see how it's coming out bottom there? That's how you know when you've given it enough. So then after the excess liquid is drained out of here, I'll put it back in here, or sometimes I'll give it to some, like this plant here doesn't look like it's draining as much. Oh, never mind. So looks like they all got a good amount of liquid there. So I just quickly drain the drip pans and clean them up a little bit. So usually at this stage, I'll turn on a small fan on low. So basically what this does is it simulates wind in an indoor environment. So since I'm growing indoors, the air is really still. And so what will happen is when the plants are using their carbon dioxide, they'll use all the carbon dioxide that's available to them that's like really close to the leaves. It's right around them locally. And so without the fan's help, what will happen is there'll be these carbon dioxide devoid pockets, and then the plant will not get enough carbon dioxide. So basically what the fan does is it kind of blows in new fresh air, carbon dioxide rich air, to kind of fill in those pockets so the plant doesn't get carbon dioxide deficient. It also does is it provides a little bit of, I don't know, maybe stress, I guess, I don't really know, but basically that movement of air causes the plant to grow stronger stems, thicker stems, etc. So basically when you transplant them outdoors, the plant will just be stronger, you know, stockier, you know, basically just overall just healthier, so that when you plant them outside, the wind doesn't just snap them off, or at least there's a less likely chance of that happening. So I highly recommend putting in a small fan. I turn it on for around 3 to 4 hours a day. That should be enough to, you know, stimulate the stronger stem growth, and then to fill in those carbon dioxide devoid pockets. You don't want to have them you don't want to have it turned on, you know, the whole day, because then it'll dry out your pots. It'll dry out the surface of your soil, but then the bottom soil here will get wet, and then it'll kind of get this unbalanced soil moisture, which is kind of not what you want, because then if you want to water the top, it'll look like it's dry on top, but really it's plenty wet on the bottom. So it'll kind of fool you into thinking that it needs water, and so when it really doesn't need water, so it'll kind of mess that up. So thank you so much for watching. This is all I have for you for this episode, but next episode we'll be transplanting the seedlings into some larger 2-gallon containers, and I'll show you how to do that, along with more tips and things that I've learned. So be on the lookout for that episode, but until then, bye.